It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia is peak comedy gold. It is one of the best TV shows to ever exist, the longest running live action sitcom, and just goddamn hilarious. So recently I realized I'm so far behind on all the new episodes, so I thought I'd rewatch every single episode to ever exist and rank them all. In this video, I'm going to be looking at season 3, so why waste any time? Let's just get straight to it.
It's amazing! Look at this! Bro, you could chop a camel right in the hump and drink all of its milk right off the tip of this thing.
The gang finds a dumpster baby. So this episode starts off with them finding a baby inside of a dumpster, like the title entails, and Dee and Mac deciding they're gonna start looking after it. And they act like a married couple, Mac instantly becoming the stereotypical dad type, and they very quickly realize they do not want to look after this baby at all. So they decide they're gonna put this back in the dumpster, put it back where it belongs. But then someone compliments the baby, being like, oh my god, that's so cute, that's like a model baby right there, they could get some real work. And they're like, wait a minute, we could make this baby a star. So they try and take him to be like a baby in like commercials and stuff, but the agency's like, oh, white's really out right now. It's all about Hispanic and Mexicans. White babies, we just don't really want those. So they decide they're gonna change the color of their baby's skin to try and make him more popular to get a more commercial space. First of all, they try and use a tanning bed, but they're like, yo bro, you are not using a tanning bed for a baby, that's illegal. So then they decide that they're gonna paint the baby. Anyways, Dennis' storyline. He wants to prove that he's a better person. He tries to help out activists and hippies and prove that he's one of them, trying to help out nature. But they're like, nah, we see through your lies. You ain't shit, bro. But he's like, yo, I got weed. And they're like, all right, actually, we do like you. But the main guy of the group does not like him at all. He just thinks he's faking it, just trying to be like, yo, I'm a good person, look at me. So Dennis decides, I'm gonna trick this guy by saying I'm gonna chain myself to this tree so they don't cut it down. And he's like, wait, no, I'm the leader of this group, I'll do it. So Dennis is like, all right, you do it. And then he goes and bangs his girlfriend and then comes back, unchains, and is like, well done, man, you did a really good job. All right, cut it down, boys. And he gets someone to cut it down. I like that storyline a lot. It's very funny stuff. And the last storyline, this had 3 different storylines. Charlie is still on about how he thinks that Frank is his dad. So he's confronting him, keep being like, you're my dad, man. And they follow Dennis to this hippie place and they see a bunch of trash and they start rummaging through it and they find a bunch of trash items that they're like, why are people throwing this out? This is so valuable. So they start getting addicted to that. But then they have an argument. Charlie brings up how he thinks he's his dad again. And no, your mom had an abortion. I made her have one. And then Charlie goes checks with his mom and his mom's like, nah, yeah, I did get you aborted, but you survived. You survived the abortion. And I had to keep you a secret from Frank because if I told him, he would have just thrown you in a dumpster. So something clicked in Charlie. He's like, oh my god, that dumpster baby, it must be Frank's and the waitresses from when they had sex the other day. And he confronts Frank like, I know this is my brother and I know this is your baby. Frank is always like, no, it's not. What are you yapping about? They're all in the bar, all looking at this sword that they found earlier, like fighting over it, and then they're painting the baby to black, and then child services come in with the police, and that's the end of the episode. Funny ending. Overall, I think it's okay episode. It wasn't the funniest in the world. There wasn't really many jokes in it, which is I was like, oh my god, this is hilarious. But it wasn't too boring either. It was a very middle of the road, Always Sunny episode. Funny, but not laugh out loud. Oh my god, this is hilarious. Next episode.
Trying out for the Eagles is the best way to settle that score.
Well, you know what? I would like to join your little competition.
No. You're a woman!
Gang gets invincible. So this episode they find out that Philadelphia Eagles are having tryouts just like the movie Invincible. So Mac and Dennis decide they want to try out, and Dee's like, I'm a woman and I think I'm better than you, so I can try as well. But on the way there they meet another McPoyle brother who's also trying to try out. So when Charlie and Frank are watching them try out, the whole family of McPoyles pull up and they're like, yo, we chill now, we forgive you for everything that's happened, you know, I stabbed you, you put us in prison, we're chill. Frank's kind of bored, so he decides he wants to do some acid. He also sneaks some in Charlie's drink, so he gets high as well. So Frank really needs a shit, so he decides that he has to have a shit inside of the caravan of the McPoyles, but he is really fucking off his balls, bro. He starts hallucinating a lot of stuff, and it turns out he is just in a trash can, just standing in his own shit. And Charlie, because he's high now, he puts on the Green Man suit. We see the first appearance of Green Man, one of my favorite characters in the entirety of the show. Anyways, in the tryouts, we see that Dee is actually quite good compared to Dennis and Mac, who are very unfit. Dennis and Mac decide they need to think of some way to distract her when she's trying out to make it look like she's shit. So they try and get Frank's gun off him, but Dee fails anyway. She kicks the ball and breaks her entire foot, so that solution is solved itself. So Dee comes back and they're still trying to get the gun. Frank shoots it, hitting the McPoyle brother that was trying out. The entire family pissed at them. So yeah, this episode's pretty good. A lot of funny jokes in it. I liked it a lot. So the McPoyles are always a good time, and I like the entirety of their family all there. They all look super fucking weird, and they look like a zombie apocalypse when they all get angry at him. The green guy parents, love that character. He's a great guy. Funny stuff. And Frank in this, when he's getting super high and hallucinating, also top tier stuff. When he's trying to get inside of the toilets, he's like, here I go.
Okay. Into the toilet I
Very funny. I liked it a lot. It's a good episode. Definitely number 1 of this season so far.
We're 3 cool guys looking for other cool guys who want to hang out in our party mansion. Nothing sexual. Dudes in good shape encouraged. If you're fat, you should be able to find humor in the little things. Again, nothing sexual, underlined.
Okay.
Great.
I have no problem with that.
Now, let's go meet some men.
Dennis and Dee's mom is dead. Now this episode, Frank comes in and goes, yo, your mom just died. This is awesome, finally. So they go to see what they get in the will. Frank got nothing, and all the money that their mom had from Frank's divorce with her, she gave it all to their real dad. Dennis got the house as long as Frank never sets foot in it, and then Dee got nothing because she was a disappointment. Dennis is happy as hell. He got this big ass mansion now. Charlie, Mac, and Dennis rolling in. They're like, oh my god, we need to throw some parties. They try to think of who they can invite to the parties, and they realize they have no friends. So they try to hand out these flyers which look like penises. This is an iconic joke from this show, the penis flyer, and they eventually fool 2 college students to come. They tell them that there's a bunch of girls there and it's a big party, so they come, and then they just start literally torturing them for their own entertainment, because that's what they think friends do. Meanwhile, Dee and Frank are trying to think of ways they can get the money. And they think if they pretend to be a married couple and convince Dee's real dad that they're getting married and that they want to adopt kids and they need the money, then he'll just be charitable and give it to him. But secretly, Dee's real dad knows who Frank is, because why wouldn't he? So Dee's real dad, he tries to push them to the limit, see how far they will go. He asks them to have sex in front of him, and they like, oh, we're waiting till marriage. He's like, okay, fine, I'll get you 2 married. So they all go to Dennis's new mansion and they marry them. And he's like, I actually knew the entire time, bitch. You just married your daughter. That's fucked up. I ain't giving you a penny. And then he tells Dennis, I'm also gonna go tell the lawyers that you let Frank inside the house because that's against the rules. You're getting the house taken off you now. Overall, pretty okay episode. A lot of funny stuff, especially with the whole penis flyer things. Obviously, iconic. I don't think it was as funny as the last episode, but I do still think it was a very funny episode. Next episode.
I got you, brother. Oh, no, you don't. What are you doing? Stop.
The gang gets held hostage. Alright, now this is peak. Definitely the best episode of this season so far. Let's get right into it. The episode starts with Frank going to the vents to try and find his will. Since the last episode, his wife died in the will. Obviously, that didn't go well. He wants to make sure his will is perfect and not all his money goes to Charlie, who might be his son. But Mac is helping him get into the vents, but once Frank's inside there, Mac goes and distracts Charlie, Dee, and Dennis. But then 3 masked people come inside the bar with guns, and they're like, you're hostage, sons of bitches, and it's the McPoyles, the 2 brothers and the sister. So the McPoyles tell them that they have 1 hour. If they don't get what they want from the police, they're gonna kill one of them. They're all panicked and they're like, oh my god, what if we get Stockholm Syndrome? That's a continuous joke throughout the episode, that they're gonna get Stockholm Syndrome, like it just happens very constantly, like it's a very common occurrence. For example, the McPaws are like, alright, you need to start digging a hole into the next building over because we're gonna make a great escape. And Charlie's like, I don't feel very well. I think I got Stockholm Syndrome. I gotta take a break. It's good stuff. It's very funny. Funny episode. So anyway, Dee thinks she has Stockholm Syndrome and starts joining the side of the McPoyles. Charlie finds out that Mac is helping Frank get to the will, so he starts going into the vents to go after Frank. And then Dennis tries to come up with a plan to seduce the sister of the McPoyles to try and get escape through there. Anyway, the hour's up, so the McPoyles are like, we're gonna have to kill one of you now. So they take them all up to the roof at gunpoint. Meanwhile, Charlie and Frank meet up in the vents. Charlie has the well and is like, is this what you're looking for, Frank? And he rips it up. And he's like, how does that make you feel, Frank? And Frank's like, really good. That's exactly what I was doing. Funny ass joke. They climb out of the vents and they get onto the roof where the rest of the people are. So now they're all on the roof together. And the rest of the gang like, oh my god, you come to save us. And they're like, yeah, totally. And Frank does a diehard and he pulls a gun from the back, taped there, and he starts shooting. Then McPaul's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, and one of them falls off the roof. And now this is the funniest joke I've seen in the show so far. They try to pull him up and then Frank comes over with a massive plank, just pushes him down. This is a meme. I remember this being a meme. Turns out it was just a 2-foot drop. Nothing really happens from it. And then they run away being like, there was no actual guns. These guns were fake. It was all just a prank. Really funny episode. I liked it a lot. Consistently funny jokes through every single plot line. The weakest one was Dennis trying to seduce the sister. That was probably the smallest plot line, but still the least funny. But everything else in this episode was hilarious. Definitely the top of the season so far. Next episode.
Used to know your brother. Now, he was a pretty cool guy. Whatever happened to him?
Behold a winner and all his...
Shit.
What are you guys doing here?
The Aluminum Monster versus Fatty Magoo. Now this episode was okay. Episode starts out with Dee and Charlie shopping, and Dee's old friend Fatty Magoo comes up to her and says, oh my god, how far our lives have come. She owns a shop. She owns this clothing shop now. And he's like, oh, what do you do, Dee? And Dee's like, yeah, I'm a model and whatever. She lies. They're the We've been through this. They're bad people. They like lying. So when Dee sees her friend got success, instead of being happy for her, she thinks, I need to one-up her and be better than her. So she wants to make a clothing brand. And then the rest of the gang basically just steal that from her. Dennis starts drawing some clothes and like, damn, this is sexy. We should make this dress. So they start making an underground sweatshop. So Dennis goes to Fatty Magoo with these dress designs and like, yo, look at these. These are pretty fire, right? And she's like, no, this is very, very sexist. So he tries putting the dress onto a model and she's like, no, this doesn't look good. And Dennis is like, oh, it must be the model that's ugly. All right. So he decides to take it on himself, to put the dress on himself, prove that it looks good. Meanwhile, Dee is not happy that they took the idea of her wanting to make dresses. So she goes and she calls the police on Fatty Magoo, basically saying, yo, you're buying dresses from Dennis because Dennis lied saying that they had a bunch of business. That's why they should keep making dresses. And then Fatty Magoo's like, yo, I didn't buy anything from your insane brother. And then Dennis comes through the door wearing the dress and beautiful makeup. Yeah, overall, the episode's okay. Very mid-episode. I think every single mid-episode of Always Sunny basically means it was a good episode, just not great. Honestly, it wasn't that funny to me. It was just okay. Next episode.
Shit. See that door right there? One marked pirate. You think a pirate lives in there?
I see a door marked private. Is that the door you're talking about?
The gang solves the North Korea situation. So this episode, a Korean restaurant opens nearby and a lot of customers that used to go to Patty's Pub is now going there. So they need to find a way to get rid of this business. Now obviously these people are not good people, so they think they can get some dirt on them. They go over there and they try and find any secrets they can, but they get kicked out really quickly. But then they find one of the employees there bitching and complaining that they're working there, they don't even get to drink alcohol, and they feel like they're being treated like a slave. So Charlie's like, oh my god, you need to come with us. We'll treat you great. So this girl comes and stays with Charlie for a bit and they start hanging out and they get really along with each other. They're like perfect for each other. Meanwhile, Dee's doing a talent show, apparently does quite often, and the boys think we can make this sexual and get more business here. What if we spray people with water? So Charlie comes back to the bar with his new girl and they're like, we're engaged, we're gonna get married. And then they're like, yo, why don't we get your girl to do the wet t-shirt competition thing? We'll spray her with water. And he's like, all right, bet. Meanwhile, Frank goes over to the Korean place like, yo, you gotta shut this place down, we need more people here. And the manager there is like, yo, it's already shut down, can you not see? I'm trying to look for my daughter, she's 12 years old. And Frank's like, oh shit, that girl's 12? Then he runs and he jumps in front of the water just before they spray her with it, and he's like, there's a 12-year-old girl. Meanwhile, Dee also went over to the Korean place and she tried to get some secrets from them, and she ended up sleeping with some old Korean guy to try and get some secrets, and the note that he gave her was just calling her a slut, basically. So at the end of the episodes, Dee's making fun of Charlie like, yo, I just slept with a weird old guy and you slept with a 12-year-old. And Charlie's like, no, we did nothing, you know, we didn't want to kiss or anything, you know, that's weird. You slept with an old guy, and they all make fun of her. Overall, okay episode, nothing special. I liked it. I like most of these episodes of Always Sunny. If it's mid, that still means a good episode. This is more of an episode you put on in the background. Definitely low in this season. All right, next episode.
Does the power have to do with the size or the strength of the bottom?
Now, Dennis, I've heard that speed has something to do with it. Speed has everything to do with it. You see, the speed of the bottom informs the top how much pressure he's supposed to apply. Speed's the name of the game. Right, buddy?
The gang sells out. This episode starts with the main three instead of a business meeting get an offer from his businessman. They're like, hey, I'll give you this much to give me the property of the bar. I think I can make a nice restaurant there. We never get to see the number, sadly, but it's big enough for them to instantly be convinced. They show the number to Frank and he's instantly convinced as well, so it's settled. They go back to the businessman and are like, yo, we'll take this deal on one condition. We want a statue of us inside the new restaurant and a helicopter ride, and we want to blow it up. He's like, yo, fuck it, you guys, no. The deal's off. Meanwhile, Dee's gone to a restaurant that's opened up nearby recently and trying to get a job there because she thinks the bar's gonna be closing down now, so she needs to get a new job. The waitress turns out to be working there and she convinces the waitress to give her a job. So then she starts working there. She starts stealing tips and stuff like you used to do at Patty's Pubs, and the waitress is not very happy about it. But then Dee just goes, yo, I'll tell Dennis that you're not happy with me, and he won't like that because the waitress is in love with Dennis. She's easily convinced. So they leave the business meeting without getting the deal going through, and they tell Charlie, yo, fuck, why the fuck do you keep mentioning helicopters for? And they kick him out of there. So he goes and gets a job at that restaurant place that Dee's at now as well. Mac, Dennis, and Frank now try and think of a way to get the deal back through because they want that money. So they take the guy to a strip club, try and convince him there, but it turns out he's gay. And then Frank formed back his little group that he used to have back in the 1950s, and they're just a bunch of old men. So Dennis gives up on this. He goes to that restaurant to try and get Dee and Charlie back, and then he sees, wait a minute, there's loads of girls here. He actually wants a job here. So he convinces the waitress to give him a job, and then he starts drinking on the job like he used to do, and the waitress is not very happy. So she gets corporate called down to fire them. Meanwhile, Frank and his group go up to that businessman's door and like, yo, give us that deal right now, or this guy's gonna beat you up. The old guy has a heart attack and they burn his ashes at the very end of the episode. It's very sad stuff. And the corporate comes down. It turns out to be the same businessman that was offering them to buy the bar. And he's like, yo, you're all fired, even you, the waitress. The waitress, yet again, is pissed at Charlie. So we're back at the status quo. Overall, it's a pretty okay episode. Middle of the road. A lot of this season has been so far, sadly, just middle of the road. Okay background episodes. Nothing that I'm going to be like, oh my god, this is peak. Only the held hostage so far has been, oh my god, this is really good shit so far. But anyways, hopefully the next episode is peak. Next episode.
I found the kittens! Oh, come on!
Okay, it's all good through here.
Hey! Here you
She
go.
throws the kittens in every take.
She loves to ruin and ruin and ruin and ruin.
Frank sets Sweet Dee on fire. Now in this episode, every single member of the gang are trying to get onto public TV, trying to become famous. Dennis and Dee try to go to all these parties by going to clubs and all that, while Frank, Mac, and Charlie are trying to make some news. They go around vlogging some stuff, trying to get anything they can, but it's all really boring, so they try and make their own news. So first of all, they set a building on fire. Dee's struggling to get into these clubs. She's a bit too much of a drunk, so they convince Dee to go save some kittens from a building and then set it on fire while she's in there and record that. And they do it again with a well. They keep trying to do it, but Dee keeps panicking when she gets set on fire and throw the kittens, then they want it to be perfect. So Dennis comes and says, yo, you're making news about a nobody, and nobody's gonna care about that. What you want to make news is about someone famous. So if I get Dee to come with me to the clubs, get her some popularity, and then you do this. So Dee and Dennis both go to the clubs together, and they take some substances, and they come back, and the rest of the gang have dancing guy on, and they're like, turn it off, and it turns out they are dressed up as babies while they were out in the clubs and danced. This episode, yet again, pretty mid episode. There's nothing bad about this episode at all. A lot of the jokes are funny, but nothing really made me go ha ha ha. It's the same situation as the last few episodes. I'll be real with you. So let's not waste any time. Let's just go to the next episode.
Hey, oh, I didn't know we were doing all that.
Yo, I was gonna grab a couple of things, be ready to Rizzo.
Man, that's retard strength if I've ever seen it, you know what I mean?
Shut your mouth.
Sweet Dee's dating a retarded person. Okay, we're back to peak. This episode is peak. So, episode starts with Sweet Dee showing off her new boyfriend to the gang. And Dennis going, that guy is special needs. I know that for a fact. Sweet Dee and Dennis have a little competition to see if he is or not. They go down to his house and he lives with his mom. And they see that he likes watching TV shows. And he eats popcorn and laughing a lot. And Sweet Dee's convinced that he is special. So she breaks up with him because he's special. These are bad people. We beat through this. Frank, Mac, and Charlie all start making a band together, and they don't like the way Charlie's songs are written. So he goes off and they include Dennis. But they don't like the way Dennis is singing his songs either. So they just do a duo. And Dennis and Charlie team up and they sing Dayman, the peak.
Dayman,
Dayman. Nice, we'll get the
fighter of the night, man.
Come on now, we all know it. We all know that song. They performed Dayman in front of Patty's pub, and they are not a fan. And then Sweet Dee tells her boyfriend, yo, are you special? She just asks him outright. He does not like that. So he goes up on stage, does a little rap breaking up with her, and that's the end of the episode. Overall, good episode. Very, very funny episode. Two main plot lines. Both of them are funny. The Sweet Dee constantly questioning and picking up on these different things that he does. Funny stuff. Obviously, the whole band making thing, and Dayman. Peak. Next episode.
What are you people doing in my apartment?
Mac is a serial killer. Now this episode starts with Frank reading the news, hearing that a serial killer is out killing young, attractive, blonde girls again. And Mac comes into the bar just as he finished reading that, looking all shady, and he has some scratches on his neck. And as soon as they pointed out they have scratches, he runs into the bathroom and covers them up. They instantly think, oh shit, Mac is the serial killer. We quickly learn that Mac isn't actually the serial killer. He's just been sleeping with Carmen and he doesn't want them to know, so he's been very secretive about it all. Dennis and Dee try to lure him out by leaving Dee on the streets, just because she's a blonde woman, to see if Mac will try and get Dee while she's on the streets, but it doesn't work. Then they try and get into the serial killer's head, so they start stalking the waitress as if they're gonna murder her, but that doesn't go well because they just get maced. Meanwhile, Frank and Charlie are trying to do an investigation of their own. They're going through Mac's stuff, looking through his drawers, and find a book on human anatomy, especially the removal of human organs. Mac is just researching about removal of penises because obviously he's dating a transgender person. Frank's like, this is proof that he wants to chop some fucking penises off or something. They then go to interview his mom, and his mom's fucking insane. So they're like, is Mac a serial killer. She just agrees. So Frank's convinced. Then Charlie has a funny alteration with Mac where he tells Mac, I know what you've been doing. And Mac obviously thinks he just means that he's been out sleeping with Carmen. But obviously, miscommunication never gets brought up. So Charlie's like, I will defend you with this. I will not let any of them find out. Dennis, Frank, and Dee call up Mac and tell him to go to an apartment of Dee's neighbors because a girl's there trying to meet him. And he's like, oh shit, alright, sure. And they do a whole catch a predator thing, you know, interrogate him, and eventually he admits that he's been seeing Carmen secretly, and they go, ew, that's gross. Now they got the truth out of the way, Charlie looks in the fridge and to see if there's any beer, but there was a bunch of severed heads. Turns out Dee's neighbor is actually the serial killer the whole time. Yeah, pretty good episode. A lot of funny jokes in it. Definitely one of the higher episodes of this season so far. Next episode.
You don't eat someone because they don't have heroin in their ass.
Let's get out of here. Let's get out of here.
No, I
Hold on.
Okay,
Calm down,
red
Charlie.
to
Calm
red.
down. Charlie,
Red to
calm down.
red.
Are you sure it's red to red?
Am I sure it's red to red?
You hold this one.
Oh my God.
Freaking
Red
out,
to red.
Charlie. Okay,
Red to
I
red.
can do it. I can do it. Ready?
Dennis looks like a registered sex offender. In this episode, they hear that a lot of prisoners have been let out, one of which looks exactly like Dennis. This is an instant problem for Dennis. He's walking down the streets and people are just shouting at him, calling him a pervert and such. He tries to get Dee to help him from stopping this whole issue. So first of all, Dee just tricks him, basically gives him a fake mustache to wear, tells him to go topless in a park and talk to kids to show that he's not fat like the doppelganger is. But of course, a topless man with a mustache talking to kids in the park doesn't look good. So then they manipulate the guy by basically pulling up a kid to his door and saying, if you don't leave, this kid's gonna tell the police that you touched him. That gets rid of him. Easy problem. Now, another prisoner got let out was Mac's dad. Mac's trying to get his dad back into the family and tries to get him back with his mom. But meanwhile, Frank is leaving Charlie's house and going to sleep with Charlie's mom, just starting to live there and using her as a bang maid, as he calls her. Basically someone who will do whatever they want and also have sex. Charlie gets his mom and Frank both to come to dinner, and Mac gets his mom and dad both to come to dinner to try and get everyone to stop being friends again. Charlie mainly wants to convince Frank and his mom to break up, and Mac wants his parents to get back together. Now, Mac's parents hate each other, so that does not work at all. But Charlie's mom is a bit of a whore. As soon as she sees an ex-convict, she's instantly turned on, and Charlie leads into that as well. He's like, yo, Mac's dad, isn't she sexy? Frank is not happy with that, but it works out in the best. Charlie's mom ends up going for Mac's dad. Throughout the episode, Mac has been dropping off his dad at certain people's names on a list's house, and he's been crossing them out, and then goes to the next one and the next one. Charlie questions it and is like, yo, is he murdering these people? And Mac's like, no, he's not. Looks at the list and sees that both their names are on it. So they call the police and rat him out and say he's been killing people. But it turns out he was just correcting all his wrongs and making everything right between everyone that he ever did something wrong to in the past. But he's getting sent back to prison for buying tickets to another country to take Mac and Charlie, and he wasn't allowed to leave the state, so he's going back to prison for that, and he tells Mac that he's going to murder him as soon as he's out of prison. What a cliffhanger, oh my god. Pretty good episode, a lot of funny jokes in it. Yet again, no storyline felt boring, no aspect of the episode felt like it was just a drag. Sometimes in episodes, there'll be a segment which I'm hooked to, and there'll be a segment which is really boring, and every time we go back to the boring one, I'm just like, oh, can we get back to the main one? But throughout, I was entertained and engaged. Next episode.
All I know is you got a great attitude. So come on, you old son of a gun, and let Buster do a line off your boner.
Gang Gets Whacked Part 1. In this episode, Charlie and Dee find some speakers that fall off a truck. They're like, yo, we got some new speakers for the bar, this is sick. But it turns out they have unspecified drugs inside of them. So they sell the drugs, thinking they can make a profit, but some gangsters show up to the bar and be like, yo, you stole our drugs by accident or not, we want the back. Either get us 25,000 or the exact drugs back to us. Get them to us by Friday or we're gonna kill you guys. So they're like, ah shit, we need to think of something to do. And they sold the drugs for 300 quid, so they're quite a lot less than the 25,000 that they asked for. So first of all, they buy some drugs and then try to resell them. They go to this posh place trying to sell the drugs there, but no one's able to sell them except Charlie, who becomes friends with some jockeys. He's able to sell every single drug he has because there's some fucking weirdos. And then they decide that Mac's being real bossy about everything, so they kick him out of the group. And Mac goes to the gangsters and like, I want to join your group. I want to be just like you. So they're like, all right, bet. You gotta go clean the toilets. Basically, they're making him their bitch until Friday comes around and then they'll kill him like they will the rest of the gang. That's the end of part 1. Obviously, it's just one part of 2 parts. It's just unfair to rank it the same. But in this series, I'm going to take every episode as it is, not by parts. So I'm going to rank it as an episode. And as an episode, it's not one of the strongest of the shows. Obviously, every episode has some good jokes in it, I won't lie. Especially the jockey stuff in this episode, that cracked me up. Especially when Charlie sees a jockey for the first time and he speaks.
The real beaut, ain't you?
Holy shit, you can talk.
What?
That is crazy. I would have figured, if anything, your voice would be, like, super high.
Maybe part 2 will be hilarious. Who's to say? Let's get right to that.
Now, here's the plan. I'm gonna cut it with flour, all right? I don't think the mom's gonna know the difference,
You
right?
sure it's gonna work?
Yeah, because people do it all the time. I think this will trick them. That's too much, huh?
That's too much.
Okay, all right.
Gang Gets Whacked Part 2. So this episode continues where we just left off. Mac is basically just trying to work with these guys, but he's basically just a janitor. Dennis is being used by Frank to be a prostitute to old women, basically. And Dennis was really against it at first, but eventually he gets manipulated by Frank, being like, hey, come on, man. You got this. Look at all these ladies that want you. And he just starts doing it with everyone. Until eventually it leads to both Dennis and Mac both being at the gangster's boss's wife's house. Mac's just cleaning out the gutters, but Dennis is there trying to be the prostitute to that guy's wife. And Mac calls him down and he snaps him out of it to stop doing it. And then the wife's like, yo, Mac, you wanna sleep with me? And Mac's like, no, you're ugly as fuck, bro. Meanwhile, throughout the episode, Charlie and Dee are still trying to sell drugs. They got the money that they got from the jockeys and they bought more cocaine, but they keep getting high in their own supply. Eventually, they see Rickety Cricket on the streets and they convince him to sell the drugs for them. And they get enough money to pay off the gangsters, but they buy more drugs to try and resell it again because they're addicted to stuff. They just want to have more drugs for themselves as well. To convince Rickety to sell the drugs again, they give him some of the drugs and he gets addicted and he basically does all the drugs himself. Eventually, they're all at the bar at the very end of the episode and the gangsters come in saying, end of the line, bro, it's Friday, we want our money. Luckily, Dennis comes back with enough money to pay him off. He sold one of Frank's belongings. But the boss gets a call from his wife saying that one of Mac's friends tried to force themselves upon her, and he's like, alright, who the fuck was it? And they blame Rickety Cricket, so they beat the shit out of him, and that's the end of the episode. Rickety Cricket's worse off than he was at the beginning. He just keeps getting worse and worse throughout the season. We'll see that later on. But yeah, good episode. This was a lot better than part 1, I think. The jokes were more consistently funny throughout, and I always like how the endings always wrap up into one neat bow, and how all the storylines converge with each other. I liked it. Good episode. Next episode.
Oh my God.
Bums making a mess all over the city. This episode starts with the gang seeing a homeless man just jacking it on the street. Crazy stuff. So Dee and Mac decide they need to take the law into their own hands because the police aren't sorting out the homeless, so they have to. So they put on a little beret and they start patrolling the streets. And they see the same guy jerking it in the alleyway. So Dee just fucks him up, just beats the shit out of him. So then they try to go to the police and tell them that they've been doing their job better for them, and is there anything they can do to get more official to do this job better? And the police are like, oh sure, we'll take you to this little town which needs sorting. Seeing as you're so good at it. They drop him off and it's apparently a rough neighborhood and they get mugged within the 2 seconds. So to be fair, it was a rough neighborhood. Meanwhile, Frank, Charlie, and Dennis, they all went to this scrapyard area and they saw a police car that they bought. And then they start wearing some police outfits and start patrolling on the streets as if they own the place. Charlie never actually got a police outfit, so he feels left out and he feels like he needs to stop these guys from being corrupt cops because they start abusing their powers. For example, getting free hot dogs. Or they see people jaywalking and they stop them and say, if you don't give me what's the money's in your wallet, I'm gonna arrest your ass. Dennis also got a cat from this junkyard and he cares more about this cat than he does Frank. So when Frank gives him the ultimatum, it's either the cat or me, Dennis is like, I'm choosing the cat. So Frank kicks him out. Dennis decides he needs to stop this. So he gets a Molotov and he's gonna burn down the hot dog stand and make it look like Frank did it. But Charlie comes running in and he wants to stop this whole police shenanigans, so he grabs the bottle and he throws it inside of the police car to set it on fire. But he covered it in gasoline. Dennis's cat from earlier, that cat loves drinking gasoline. So he jumps inside the car blows up with the cat inside. But it turns out the cat's fine, it just runs away. Pretty sure Mac's dog is like the same thing where it just never dies. Isn't that like the same bit they repeat? But yeah, anyways, that's a pretty good episode. I liked it a lot. It got me laughing, it got me giggling. First few seconds of just the guy beating in the street with their reactions got me laughing out loud in the first instant. That's an episode opener that you want to achieve. You want to just get me off the bat. I liked it. Good episode. Next episode.
He's fueled by vengeance and reinforced with space-age technology.
And go.
Oh, the technology failed me.
The gang dances their asses off. The final episode of season 3 is a Mr. Beast video. Basically, Charlie accidentally signed up the whole bar for a dance competition and actually made the prize the bar itself. And this is a very contained episode, all inside the same building, so not a lot really happens for me to explain. I'll just give a basic rundown. Mac very early on tries to challenge Dennis, but loses in a dance competition and has to wear a keg for the rest of the dance. Dennis sees a couple dancing and he tries to seduce the girl by teaching her how to dance, but turns out the woman's actually loyal, so he just gives up on her and chucks her onto the floor. The waitress is there and tries dancing with the homeless man to make Dennis angry, and he goes over to the waitress and pushes her out to make Charlie angry. Frank gets out really early on because the gang manipulates him to take a knee and sit on the sidelines to tell them what to do, and then as soon as he's out there, they go, yeah, fuck you bitch, we just wanted you out. Rickety Cricket's there and he's the first one to go out because he has broken legs and he has these mechanical legs that give up on him real quick. Charlie throughout the entire time is just giving it his all, and he tries to challenge Dennis to a dance competition because he got rid of the waitress. He plays his mixtape, does this choreographed dance that he learned when he was in school, and he wins because it's so goddamn beautiful. So now Mac and Dennis both have to wear a keg, but then Charlie eats a drugged brownie that makes him sleepy. The last few people there is Dee, this old guy that Frank has paid off to give him the bar, Dennis and Mac, who both wear kegs, and Charlie, who's been drugged up. Mac and Dennis both fight because Mac has the mechanical legs on that Rickety Cricket had, so they try and fight to try and get off him, but they both fall down. Charlie just falls asleep because he's been drugged. So then it's just the old man and Dee. And Dee's like, come on, Rickety Cricket, get that fucker. He rolls in on a skateboard and actually hits Dee in the legs, meaning the old man won. Means the ball goes back to Frank. Back to the status quo, as per usual. Pretty good episode. Not really a good season finale, but an alright episode. I do want Mr. Beast to make this video himself. Last Dance loses, and I do want it to be just as violent as this episode was. But overall, a pretty middle-of-the-road episode. I do actually quite like the format of it being very tightly to the same story, everyone in the same place throughout the entirety of the episode. Usually in TV shows, that means that they just made a cheaper episode because they don't need as many sets. But I quite like this episode. I like the constant title cards they had on the screen as well, saying how long it's been, and as soon as people came up against each other, it said Dennis versus Charlie, for example. Yeah, overall, good episode. I liked it. Here is every single episode in Season 3 ranked in order of what's pretty good. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe. Click on this playlist here to see the rest of every single episode ranked, because in case you missed it, I did Season 1 and Season 2. And also, I'm doing the rest of the season, so click the playlist here and subscribe.